Great, thank you. Welcome everybody and folks who are listening to this meeting of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation this July 12th in the village of Southampton. By way of introduction and roll call, to my left is Peter DeWitt and Sarah Latham. To my right, Mark McIntyre and John Gregory. And working with us to his right is our attorney, Alice Cooley, and in the back, our recording secretary, Derek Highsmith, and Kat Styler, our videographer. This afternoon, we added a couple of things having to do with signs, and also there were some late adjournments. So I just want to read off the adjournments in case anybody's here for that, so you don't waste your time. There's an adjournment for 88 Gin Lane, and I'll repeat these when we go through the agenda. For the Polish Club, for Four Fountains, which is 660 Halsey Neck Lane, and then for Gates at John Gallo at 300 Great Plains. So if any of those are, but everybody who needs to be here is here, I gather. Okay, great. So let's begin, and that is with the minutes. Now, we circulated them this afternoon, so I don't know if everybody's had a chance to read them. If you have, and if there are no further edits, then we can proceed. If not, then we can push them to next week. Everybody's read them?
I read
Okay,
them.
any further comments or edits, other than I have yours?
Yeah, there was one.
Okay.
You had one change.
And then actually, that is probably more appropriate for the written decision.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, of
so,
course, yeah.
All right, so in that case, I would move that we dispense with the reading of the minutes and enter them into the files as submitted earlier this afternoon. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. So the minutes are approved. Thanks, Derek, for that. So now written decisions. This is for 137 Cooper's Neck Lane to demolish existing structures. Our attorney has submitted a determination. Alice, if you want to just either announce that or otherwise summarize it, which is probably no more than one sentence. So.
Okay.
No, you can do more.
You can have two.
Let me remind myself what it was. So this was a certificate of appropriateness application for 137 Cooper's Neck Lane LLC to demolish the existing structures at the premises. That was simple.
Right. It was that simple, and it was determined that it was not of historic nature, or at least fitting the criteria to otherwise consider it as such. So then I will move that we accept the written decision submitted by council for 137 Cooper's Neck Lane. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Derek, you have that? Okay, great. All right, so we'll proceed. And then, if you have that file...
137 Cooper's, it's right here.
137, yeah, I'll just sign that, so that's just one little piece of administration we can get rid of. All right, thanks. And let's see. Is the written decision in here, Derek? If not, we'll take care of it at the office.
It should be like the desk.
You're welcome.
On the desk?
In front of the basket.
Oh, in front of the basket? If it is, great. If not, let's proceed. So I'm going to have to go in tomorrow to...
Do I have the only copy? Because I just gave it to John. Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry. I thought everyone had it.
Wow, they don't
So
have.
sorry. Sorry, John. I can email you one.
Okay.
Great, thanks, Alan.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign this. I'm going to mark that Peter and Sarah are in the negative, and I, John, and Mark are in the affirmative. Okay. And let's see, do I have to stamp that, Alice, or not really?
If you could just write original on
Yeah.
it.
Okay. And 7/12/21. Okay, Great, we'll put that back in the file, thank you. Okay. So now, next on the agenda was a referral having to do with 90 Toilsome. That's still in process as we check on, and we were doing so today on the origins and architecture of the property. We still understand that there's a 30-day limitation, so we will abide by that. The next referral was that of 130 Powell, and the applicant requests adjournment to August 9th, 2021. And inasmuch as that's not part of a public hearing, I don't think we have to make a motion on that.
No.
So let's move on then to signs. For those who are unfamiliar with the sign process, we have a sign committee of two of our members, and then on occasion, when it's a sign of, when it's a question or sign of significance, we bring it before the board. So there are two such signs today, and that is, and tell me if I have this right, is it Tethy's?
Yes.
Tethy's Art at 71 Hill Street. So please introduce yourself, tell us your name, address.
My name is Ron Fisher. I have the sign company Fisher Signs at 1691 County Road 39 in Southampton, and I'm here representing the applicant.
Okay, great. And I'm sure you have pictures to show us, and the sign committee's already seen this.
I've
Right.
incorporated some of their feedback, but was
Okay.
unable to incorporate all of it with the applicant.
All right, so why don't you present it to the board?
Sure, so they're looking for an 8-foot by, sorry, I can't say, 1 foot, sorry.
Yeah, you
Sorry.
know, you can, Kat, you can pick him up, you can pick up Ron if he's at the table.
The microphone at the table and the podium.
Yeah,
You want me to go there?
yeah.
Okay.
If you're more comfortable.
Whatever's easier
Whatever's better for you.
Oh, yeah, you got a footrest? Okay. All right. It's an 8-foot by 2-foot PVC sign with digitally printed graphics. The review committee asked to have it reduced in size by 10%. Wait, you do have a footrest. You guys are great.
Who knew? Here to accommodate.
Thank you. So we did reduce the size of the graphics by 10%. They didn't like the logo, which is the H with the lattice, which is why we're here. So I did go to the applicant and ask if they were willing to have that taken off. They are an art gallery and it's important to them, so they asked me to come to the board and plead the case for the logo.
I haven't had the benefit of seeing it, and some of the other folks who are not on the sign committee may not as well, so.
Kat, can you pick that up on the screen? Thanks.
There
I don't think we had an issue with the sign per se. Our only suggestion was somehow make it a little more distinguishable so it doesn't look like a run-on of letters. But if that's what they want, that's their call.
I made that suggestion. I wanted a separation here, and I thought it would be there. They're artists, and this is what they prefer.
Believe me, I get that.
Okay.
The suggestion was to make the T uppercase and then the A uppercase, so at least you could see what it said. And my question was, what is the H? I didn't know it was the logo.
Got it.
Hard to read.
I agree.
Too, but I'm not gonna say it.
That's what they want, they're artists, so.
Okay.
I agree. It's on
Let's get the-
kind of everything. That's,
I'll give it the
It reads
footrest.
as Tethyal. It reads as one word.
That's what they want.
So,
That's their logo.
sign committee, you good with that?
Yeah, if that's what they,
That's their logo.
I mean, it's not identifiable to the pedestrian, but if that's what they want, that's their call.
All right. So, the board confirms the sign committee's decision and has no objections to counter that, so.
Thank you.
And that's all submitted into the file to be signed off? Okay.
Okay, thank you. I promise, before it gets to you, we have these conversations with the applicant, trying to encourage them.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not always,
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So,
You can
again,
imagine.
You've helped us
You
before.
understood.
Alice, we
what
don't
the-
have to do anything on that.
Well, you can either just vote on it
Okay.
tonight,
Right.
why not?
Yeah.
It's here.
So I move that we accept the applicant's, the application of Tethy's Art at 71 Hill Street for a sign as submitted this evening. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
From John Gregory, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
thank you.
All righty.
Nay.
I'm sorry, did you say nay?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
but-
okay. So,
Can't read
Derek, just record that. You know, that people,
We have principles.
our charge is to use our judgment. And there are 5 people, and everybody's take will be their judgment. So I applaud you for that.
Yes.
And, but you're
I'm
good to
going to
go.
hang around for Christie's on
Okay.
the next application as
Yeah.
well. And
You-
Okay.
Don't go far.
You're right. Okay.
They're comfortable.
I can either be here
All
or.
right, so I'm going to call the next one, which is the sign application of Christie's at One Pond Lane. So again, who's ever representing the applicant, please
That's me.
identify yourself.
Us together.
Okay, well, just for protocol, say your name and your firm as you as
I'm
well.
Kristen France. I'm the gallery manager at Christie's,
Okay.
One Pond Lane.
And I'm Ron Fisher with Fisher Signs and Shirts on County Road 39 in Southampton.
So, sign committee, you had had some discussions with the applicant before. And the applicant was going back to resubmit a different form? Okay.
Well, I think they just want approval of what they submitted, and we weren't comfortable approving it
Oh.
Well, I
based
think-
on the prominence of the building and
Okay.
everything we went through
All
on
right,
the
so why don't
renovation. And
you take us through what you'd like us to consider?
I understood that we submitted a painted sign, correct, is that correct? Like painted on the
I don't
stucco?
know. You're the
Okay,
applicant.
I think that's what
without
we
being
initially
rude.
submitted, and what we're trying to do is a slight change to that.
So I was brought on after your feedback. So what we are proposing now are the pin-mounted letters that are raised acrylic to give it some depth and definition, which I think will look better with the blue lighting as well. So we're proposing 3-dimensional letters, not just flat painting on the stucco, which is more in line with the rest of the signage in the area and what we think will enhance the building.
So can you show us a picture of what you intend?
It's
Yeah.
Can you
here.
pick that up, Kat? Thank
Kind
you.
of small. A small
She's
document.
going to zoom in, it's great.
Okay.
Okay. So this is what we're proposing in that area above the entrance.
So
We're-
Kat, can you zoom in on both the logo or what they choose to use? Yeah, if you can make that really, how about on the, now let's go to the color part.
It's just going to be black.
It's just, yeah.
They're,
Right. So that's okay.
and that's max code allows as well. Those are 12-inch letters, which is all they'll allow for a wall sign. So we're asking for it to be as big as code allows.
So, sign committee, I know you had some issues beyond the actual material, the style, the font.
I had a question about the fill-in of the R. Is that part of your logo?
That is part of what we had initially submitted. Yes, it is part of the logo that we want.
Right, so it's part of Kristen, is it Kristen or Christine?
Kristen?
Kristen. So it's part of the logo, but Kat, if you can either get over my shoulder or otherwise, I'd be happy to put this down.
You wanna put 'em
Okay.
Do you want me to just grab it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
table.
thank you, Ron. So if you could put that down on the table, and capture it all, my piece. You know,
You want me to move it, or-
Ron, why don't you take your piece out? There you go.
Okay.
Okay, let's get straightened out. All right. So Christie has a distinctive type font and logo, which speaks of its high-quality name. And that's on the flag store in New York, and literally on the flag in New York. It's on the website. You can see it over the location at Dubai and Zurich. So I would humbly suggest that it's not a part of the logo.
It's fine, we can make it not.
But that it's something that you would like. However, and we are glad to have Christie's here as well as Phillips, that there be consistency with the rest of Christie's worldwide, okay? So I think.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
in agreement too,
All
so
right.
I think we
So,
can certainly amend it.
and I understand it's somebody's interpretation, so no offense to anybody there, but we'd like Christie's to be everything that they are to the world here in Southampton. So how do we address that,
Did
Alice, in
prep
terms of
a-
writing it in?
one
We
of the
prepped a
questions,
drawing.
the material itself,
That would help.
is it it's plastic, acrylic, is it a shiny finish, is it a matte finish, is it?
Did you have a preference?
I would prefer matte, personally,
Would you,
but.
Would as well,
I
yeah.
would
Yeah,
prefer matte
clear.
too. I think.
A little more subtle, a
I
little
like
more
matte too.
elegant.
Exactly, yeah.
And we did prepare a drawing with the R to match their logo, so if you need it for the file to approve today.
Submit it.
We had an idea where you were going.
Okay. All right, so,
Well, I guess,
go ahead, John.
I was just thinking about the lighting of the building. Is it necessary to have the lighting on 24/7? Or,
Look at me.
I mean, I know, is that the requirement from the owner, or it just seems,
I'm not sure.
it turns a rather elegant building into like, it looks like a strip club in Las Vegas. I mean, that's just my opinion, but.
When, to put that into context and not to dwell on it, so the intensity was approved because it most matched the hue, the color that people wanted.
Of the blue.
But it wasn't so much intensity in terms of brightness, it was the color
The
that
color
was
itself.
emitted from that. It was also understood by the owner of the building that with use, now, we can't necessarily regulate that, is that they can adjust the rheostat. So you might want to consider that, because I noticed when I came in as dusk, it was rather bright. And does it have to be lit up all through the night? No, maybe it could be toned down and you still have a very dramatic effect. So, but
I
I
mean,
don't think,
the blue banding has a presence of all its own. It's almost overkill to have the lighting as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that, you know.
But that was approved.
yeah,
So
so,
of course, it
right.
was, but, you know.
but it doesn't mean you have to stick to it, because there was the understanding that the rheostat could be,
That we can raise and lower it.
yeah, I mean, we approved it because of the U, no?
No,
I
we
guess-
approved it
okay.
at max intensity. It's in
Exactly.
there.
Well, we wanted to turn it all up.
The
Uh,
idea
we
was
can
to
be
the
match,
right
right.
color.
to match the
It looked
blue.
like a different color when it was lowered.
Yeah.
It
It was
looked like a
purple.
light.
It was
Forget
purple.
what I said.
Food for
like a lot
thought.
of people do.
We'll put it that way.
Okay.
Okay, yes. All right, so if you do want to change the intensity, therefore the color, yes, you would have to come back.
As I understood it, the color shouldn't be, we cannot change the color, correct? And I was told we couldn't change the intensity either, so I was always told, do
Because
not
I-
touch that dial, but
As Alice so well reminded me, that the two are one and the same essentially. The intensity gets the U and the U requires that intensity. So,
Got it.
tis what it is.
Saw it.
Is that-
We looked at it.
Yeah,
CMAC
yeah,
came
yeah.
in and he
Absolutely.
raised and lowered it.
You're 100% right.
You're right.
But that doesn't mean that it can't be off.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It can be off.
I mean,
You turned off.
yes, that's what I meant.
So, let's do this. Let's approve the application of Christie's for the sign as submitted with their corporate logo, and with
Matte
matte
finish.
finish. Okay, anything else? Okay,
Uh,
so,
yeah.
if you
There are
can,
also signs on the glass, is that correct?
yes, which we're also, I think, here to discuss as well.
right,
Yes.
Okay,
and Ron, since you're the sign guy, can you mark up your copy and then resubmit it to the building department?
absolutely. I'll email it to Derek tomorrow, if that
Okay.
works.
Great.
Sure.
All
Well,
right,
I
with
mean,
those
can he
changes.
just do it tonight
He
so we
can
can
You
vote
want me
on
to,
it?
can I, you have a
Yeah,
pen?
he has it
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Why don't we just?
Yeah.
Note matte finish and then we'll stamp it in.
Yeah,
I do have a pen, yeah.
I have a pen.
Do you mind if I borrow?
Wait. If we've got a footrest, we've got a pen.
Full service.
But if the windows aren't going to be addressed tonight, is that the story?
Do you know if your attorney applied for a permit for the window signage?
I believe we did.
So it's a
apply
little backwards.
for a permit, yeah.
We're not sure if they actually applied for a permit on the window lettering,
Okay.
but if we can get your feedback while we're here, that would be helpful. And we'll just do it in the reverse order if that's okay, because I know they've gone a little while without signage. They did, Derek? Oh, there is a permit for it.
That should be in the file, too.
Oh, so that's on there as well.
The sign in the front, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like on the,
On the
windows?
glass.
yeah, on the two windows.
And on which windows does that, will that appear? On all the windows or just?
No, on
No.
two
No.
windows flanking the door.
Okay, got it.
We're
I
just gonna
never
put
know. Yeah.
Christie's all over everywhere.
And the drawing's here, if we can zoom in again.
Yeah, do you
Having
mind?
seen it in
surprised
other
what some
places,
people
that
want
didn't
for their
sound
sign.
like
So
it.
everybody sees it?
No. I'm sorry.
There's a camera.
Sarah, can you get, oh, no, Sarah. Kat. To zoom in, so we can all see it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so on this window, it will say Christie's, and then on this window, it should say Carpenter's Workshop Gallery.
Like eye level.
And that's gonna be in what color?
White, and then
Okay.
there's a 60% reduction in gray, so.
Okay, okay.
Fine.
It's
Fine.
settled. Okay, great. So you got that, Mark? Come on up here, young fella, and we'll stamp it in.
Thank you.
Okay. Alrighty, so we'll submit this into the file.
No, we're not using that
And
one.
then,
So it's all-
okay, so I move that we accept the sign application for Christie's at One Pond Lane as revised this evening using the corporate logo and a matte finish on the lettering. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, great. Any objections, any public comments? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Good to go. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Ron.
Very welcome.
And welcome.
Yeah.
We're glad to have
Thank
you.
you.
Very much. Okay, now we'll get on to the public hearings about structures and eventually driveway gates. So the first one in the historic district is that of, and by the way, Trust A and B. I'm not going to go into the whole appellation, but it's, they requested it an adjournment to August 9th, so I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to August 9th.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, so that's adjourned. Okay, the next application is that of Robert Gerard at 611 Hill Street for a two-story addition and alterations to the dwelling. So let me put this away while you get set up. Okay. If you could identify yourself and your firm, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Arthur Fraser Architects, 26 Hillside Road, Southampton.
By the way, do we have affidavits of posting and mailing?
That's-
Yes, there you go.
Let's see, that's the microphone. Just so you know.
So, Peter, can you reach through that stuff and put that into the file?
Second one.
These two.
All right, Arthur, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. If you don't mind, I'm going to read a little bit because I had 3 things tonight and I can't remember.
Okay,
I'm getting
okay.
them confused. Anyway, I'm the architect and applicant for Robert and Pippa Gerard for additions to 611 Hill Street. The owners have been here for over 35 years and are longstanding members of the community, and are now planning to spend most of their time in Southampton and need more space for them and their 5 adult children and growing grandchildren, growing number of grandchildren. They also need a garage because they're cars strewn all over their property. As to the house that was built, I believe, in the middle of the last century and has been altered a few times, most recently 2006. Coming up with a design that's sort of sympathetic to the original colonial, which you can see here. It was made a little difficult because they were upzoned back about 5 or 6 years ago, I think. So they're really left with a setback envelope that's about like this. So we couldn't go any way except
Right.
east to west. And initially, we thought about, adding on to the facade, but then the massing of that just became huge, and it was like a hotel. So, so the solution was to sort of try to do it in 2 parts. The first part, I can refer to this drawing. The first part is a gable that's the same as a house, but it slopes away from the house, and it's set back 8 feet so that it doesn't compete with that front facade. So we're trying to leave the original old colonial as the dominant elevation. And in the second part, and we reversed the gable for the garage and the room above it. So that massing didn't become too much, headed east to west. So we also kept the addition well below the existing roof line, which is about 8 feet below it, and maintained all the same size and rhythm of windows, so that the windows continue in the same pattern as the original house. And it's not affected by the pyramid law. We have all the finishes match, natural shingles, white trim, all the fascia and soffit. So that's about it. If you have questions.
You stole my line. Board members, questions, concerns, thoughts?
I don't have any questions.
I think it looks just right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's subservient, it
Yeah.
it
Checks
steps
all the
back.
boxes.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
I wish other,
Thank you.
yeah.
And it's harmonious.
Yeah, thank you. Any public comment? No? Okay, so in that case, I will move that we accept the application of Robert Gerard at 611 Hill Street, for a two-story
Written
addition.
decision,
I'm sorry?
written decision.
Written decision.
Oh, it's a
No,
historic, right?
I did a note to myself and forgot to read it. And alterations to the dwelling, so I move that we submit that for written decision. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Nope. So, okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Might I add, no, not you, Arthur. Kat or Derek, do you have a way of like turning on the AC? I think we could, what do you think, folks?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
I got some heads nodding.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Okay. Truth be known, I came in here to cool off, so from my hat. Okay.
Oh, the wrong one?
This is on, so that's.
Oh,
good.
okay. Thank you, Kat.
First one was 67,000.
So, there are no driveway gates in the historic district. Public hearings, non-historic. The first one is that of the Polish Political Club at 230 Elm Street. Now, that's been adjourned pending site plan approval. And I think at this point, given the time, and I don't know when that's going to take place, at the very least, if we keep it on the agenda, I would like to require reposting and mailing.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, should we strike it from the agenda without recourse or whatever the legal term is?
I don't see why we need to take it off the agenda, as
Okay.
long as it gets renoticed. But
Okay.
I will say, I don't know that they've applied for a site plan yet.
Okay, all right.
I noticed that there's a fence around the property now.
Yeah.
Does that mean they've started construction of some sort, or?
Well, they have a permit for interior construction.
Oh, okay, got it.
So I'm happy to keep it on the agenda. So I move that I move that we make it a proviso that when they do resubmit, that they require reposting and email. Okay, do I have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And Derek, on that, if you can, from the building department, let the applicant know that while we will still keep them on the agenda, they will have to repost and remail. Okay. Thank you very much. Then there was, now I'm reading off the wrong. Okay. Four Fountains.
Four Fountains, which
Was
is
that
already,
also, I
It's
thought that
already-
was adjourned.
It was.
it's
Yeah.
adjourned till August 9th.
Oh, okay, great. Now I'm reading. Okay, great. So on Four Fountains LLC, 660 Halsey Neck Lane, the applicant requests adjournment to August 9th. Do I have I'm going to move that we accept the applicant's request. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Okay, so that's adjourned too. Thank you. Okay, so 67 Palitro is the next application, and that is for a two-story addition.
Good evening, John Bennett and Reed, and Jose Jimenez from Southampton Engineering is here with me. I wasn't at the last meeting, I was only recently retained, but I did have the opportunity to meet with the owner's team, and what I did was try to translate to the owner, based upon my years of experiencing before the board, what sort of things would be hopefully more amenable to the board. So what you're seeing there is the proposed elevation, and what's significant about it is that it's really, my understanding based upon what the commentary from my client's team was from the last time, the board pretty much wanted to see if the applicant could maintain the front facade. There were, originally the last time, there were the black windows, and I told the applicant that was something that I agreed with the board was of a time for about 5 years, and really is just starts to date homes, and maybe it might have been something fresh, but it was fresh for about 5 years. It got very tiresome. So despite, interestingly enough, some pushback, the applicant agreed to make the windows white. Also, there was the prior application, or the prior drawing, I should say, there was some fenestration changes, some fenestration with a lot more mullions in the windows. And I said, you know, this is of a period, having owned a couple of homes in Southampton of that period, where you had 2/2s or 1/1s. Let's just stick with that. The whole idea. I think what the board wants to do is to try to keep the facade, the front elevation of the house, as much as possible the same. There is one less step, and then what's there, because what they're going to do is actually the ceiling heights are very low, so they're going to dig that out and get a better, be able to get some more ceiling heights. What we did originally, it was essentially flush, and I said, I don't know, I'll keep my day job anytime, but I don't know how the hell you're going to drain that. So they did put another step on it. So that was my primary involvement with it was trying to get the client back to where the facade stayed pretty much the same in terms of fenestration. You have there's currently the 2/2s, and that's what we have on the front, and all the fenestrations remain the same. Remain the same, and the removal of the dated and dreaded black windows. I don't know. There's an addition on the back, which is, as you can see in the elevations, is a little bit more, not necessarily. Well, it's traditional. The fenestrations are a little bit more. I hate to say contemporary. I guess it's not contemporary architecture, but it's a little bit more. Not necessarily something that you would have seen when this house was built, but in a way I thought that was okay, because even though this is not in the historic district, it has, being the owner of a Foursquare, I don't live there, but I own it, Foursquare in the village, I understand the love of that. So, but for an addition, even though this isn't a historic district, it does blend into that thought of taking the addition as something that you could separate and look. If you that Interior Secretary's guidelines, the addition should be something that you separate from the house as it originally was constructed, even though this is not in the historic district. So we're here, again, this is the first time I'm appearing here. I tried to bring the application back into what I thought this board would like to see, primarily keeping that front elevation of the facade the way it is, so the sense of place will not change significantly.
So can you share with us, and I'm sorry, your first name again?
Jose Jimenez.
Jose. the materials beyond the fenestration in terms of the siding? It looks like you're painting it white, but I don't know if that's a rendering or if it's white cedar shingle that's gonna weather.
Cedar shingles, the clients would like to go for white.
Yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
painted white.
But
Painted
Cedar
white.
shingles
It's
painted
white.
white.
Right, so it will be white, okay. All right, and then I also noticed there's a chimney on the plans, but I didn't see one on the house.
There is one.
There's
actually.
one.
Yeah, there's one.
Oh, really? Okay, it must,
Yeah. It's difficult to see because of
Yeah.
the elevation of the house.
okay,
Yeah.
well, plus given my height, it's probably a little bit more challenging. Sorry.
It's in the
A little
photograph.
bit of self-deprecating humor. So, all right, I'll turn it over to the board members for their questions.
First of all, thank you for, maintaining the facade with the white windows. I think it maintains that classic Southampton style that I think we all value. The materials and everything look fine to me. My only question, there's a lot of glass on the back, which doesn't concern me as much as the glass on what I think is the left elevation or the west side. I mean, they're fairly narrow lots, right? And that just could be a light pollution issue for the neighbor.
Well, what I did with that, and again, I'm sort of hearkening back to, even though this isn't a historic house, look at that, you're talking about the large.
The
elements
double
of
stacked
glass.
windows on the
This sort of gonna go back and forth on this. What I did was I took some photographs of a couple of houses that I see every day, and I'm just gonna hand them out to you. And again, I thought it wasn't so.
And John, you can put them on the table.
Okay, sure. It wasn't so significant because of that is a contemporary new part of the house. When I say contemporary, I don't mean contemporary architecture. But what I did is I took, this is, I drive past this every day. It's North Main and Bowdoin Square, and that is in the historic district. It's a contributing structure, and it's, I think, Billy Coral's wife, did it. It's right next to Coral Brothers. And
Yeah, that's where they cut down the bunny bush. That really upset me.
well, that was the most upsetting thing to me. I got a bone to pick with Billy. Why'd you cut down the bunny bush? All those years. But, again, it separates the back from the existing, more historic aspect of the house. And then there's another house that I walk by every day on Hilder Street where I live, and this is a flag off of Elm. So I'm looking through, I think it's, I'm not 60, 40, 60, like 80 Hilder Street or something, to this in the back. And it's actually quite pleasant. So I thought those were decent antecedents. This, of course, is a brand-new house.
The only comment I would have is that the Coral House is actually, well, I don't think we were a part of, this board was a part of that approval, first of all. And it actually overlooks a commercial property, so there's a little bit of a difference from that perspective.
But it is, that house is a contributing structure.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah, the house is a contributing structure, and I thought it was a pretty nice way to, separate it by.
That's the only comment I had, so I don't know if anyone else.
No,
feels the same.
actually, I agree with you, John. I think it's, I'm, besides the light pollution issue, is, this opening is just very different from all the other ones on that elevation. And I actually think that the
Peter,
east
this is
side,
the west side, is it?
yeah, the west side, called left, the big double window, the stair window. I find it out of scale with the window wall ratio on that facade. And I have to say, I have to say the same thing about the east elevation with that deck and those sliding glass doors going out to that side deck. I find those two elements incongruous.
Well, those
The
are
building
access to a
is
deck.
on our list of contributing.
Yeah, it's actually on our list of contributing buildings. It's been.
That was updated.
It was flagged, in the 79.
It's not per se. It's on
Right.
your list of
Right.
contributing, but it's
I know.
not.
What I said.
No, we understand,
Yeah.
but it's,
said our list.
and I think John has recognized that it's a house of characteristic value.
Yeah, that's
and-
why I
Yeah.
And
pushed
the
the
applicant is doing the most to preserve at least the front facade. I think there's a legitimate question in terms of the window ratio on the right elevation, which would be the east elevation. I also believe that on the left elevation, which would be the west, that given that these are 30-acre lots and that in fact that, I think, side does pierce its grandfather, the pyramid law, that those 4 vertical windows.
On the left elevation.
On the
you're
left
talking about.
elevation. I think in fairness to the neighbor, and John, we've been moving, I know you showed us some pictures, but we've really been moving towards minimizing the vertical windows that go from either ground to roof, or even, in this case, 3/4.
Yeah, currently there are 2 on the second floor, and it looks like 1 existing on the ground floor.
We're trying to, again,
Yeah.
obviously, we'd have to resubmit,
Right.
but the thought would be to put some more material. This would be solid. And then you'd have the break there with the 2.
Yeah, I think just one big window would do it, you know.
Oh, I would prefer, actually, this would look more pleasant, but the thought would be to have, if I may, Peter, the thought would be to have 2 doubles here and 2 doubles here,
Yeah,
and then
to
a large
separate the-
break in between them. I think I'd prefer that, too.
Yeah, not one big vertical window.
I agree.
And then, what was the thought on the, and we can draw that up, what was the thought, and we'll come back to you, what was the thought on the other elevation?
On
The
right-
sliding
on the right
glass doors.
elevation.
On the
Well, it's an access to
east
the deck.
elevation.
Yeah, I know, but it's too big, I think. I think it doesn't
Okay.
match the,
What would you prefer?
Well, you know what?
2 doors?
Doubles,
Double doors.
two would help, yeah.
Double doors.
A pair would
Yeah,
do
okay,
it.
okay.
You know what happens, and again, we don't want to get into the specifics of designing it, but the overall impression is that it's all windows, all the
Okay.
way across.
Yeah.
I think this is going
And
towards it
so,
then.
I don't know how Jose is going to do it, whether the 3 windows to the left become 2, whether the double or triple sliding doors become double sliding door, whether the 5 windows to the right facing that elevation become 4 and are separated. I don't know how you do it,
I think we're there.
but I think you
We've
got
already
the
got a
message.
good way to go, so we'll come back.
Okay. Can we also talk about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'd like to talk about the roof. It currently has clipped corners, and your elevation doesn't match your rendering doesn't match your elevation,
Oh, okay, we'll just make sure the rendering matches the elevation. Yeah, we can do it.
because the beauty of this is it does have,
The new renderings. were
Oh,
submitted.
right.
That's correct.
Excuse me?
We had submitted new renderings, I believe, but,
Oh, okay.
uh,
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
we'll
this
just make
is
sure
the
the
most-
renderings
Okay.
match.
yeah.
So,
That's a
and
good
then can we talk a little bit about the spacing of properties? On the property, the buildings on the property, do they all exist in the current location?
Do what?
All the buildings, the spacing of the buildings, because that's part of our purview, which is spacing of buildings and open space and so on. Are these 2 buildings, the garage and the guest house, do they all exist in the location as shown?
I don't even see a site plan.
Existing.
They're- okay,
If
they're
you
all
could just,
pre-existing.
could you just put that so we can show the public on
Yeah, it
the
looks
camera?
like they are.
I walked, they looked pre-existing
Yeah,
to me when I
okay.
walked it.
So, I mean, it's a very tight property.
So there's a lot going
So,
on.
let me open it to public comment, and then I have a comment I want to make as well. Any public
You know
comment?
what I always
on-
remember? You know what? Hug the lots and crowd the lots and are beautiful. The houses on Post Crossing.
Yeah, no,
The mere fact that the houses are
that
big
can-
on the
that
lot,
can be.
you know,
that can be.
it's all question mark.
Any public comment? So, John, I'd like to make a comment, falls a little bit in the gray area, maybe outside of ours, but since it's out there in the public, of course now I can't find it, is that what you're presenting is for the most part reasonable, and within code, as you always do. There's a more than mild discrepancy or poetic license taken by the builders and the realtors. By describing this, and ironically, the name of the builders are Bagatelle Builders, and what they're promoting is no mere bagatelle. In fact, they're describing this as a 6,000-plus square foot luxury living throughout 8 bedrooms and 10 and a half baths.
Jeff, let me cut you off. I'm not gonna, I
No,
think it's
I'm-
totally inappropriate to put puff and blow from a real estate, but, I just, I
No,
want
no,
to tell you
let
something.
me
There's a
finish
Court of
and
Appeals
then
case
let
where
me-
somebody sued somebody because of what the real estate broker said, and pretty much the Court of Appeals in a one-page decision said,
That's fine. I said I was
what kind of schmuck are
making-
you to listen to what a real estate broker said?
Well, in this case, it's just so egregious that it necessitated a comment by me.
Okay, I understand it, but it doesn't belong in the meeting, Jeff.
Well,
You
it
know,
does when
has nothing to do-
when it's out in the public.
No, it doesn't.
That I don't want this board to
doesn't.
be a party to
That's absurd.
a bait and switch.
Jeff, you're a very reasonable guy, but that has no place
I
in a
understand.
hearing, because it's not part of the record. It's some real estate broker's fantasy of what he thinks the house or she thinks the house is gonna look like. I mean, there's a lot of things that I think real estate, there should be a law banning the word zen-like. I see that one more time in a real estate ad, so,
The house
I
will
don't
speak
think
for
it's
itself when it's
any
built,
hearing.
so
You know,
no
I
matter
really
what they
don't.
advertise, the
Right.
buyer, the house will speak for itself when it's built, so.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, accept it as my comment, and.
Okay, all right.
And to the
understand.
extent that that gets back to the builders who have otherwise authorized the realtor to make such statements, it might be helpful for everybody. But that's your to do privately.
That's at their
So,
peril, though, really.
John, would you like,
That's at the real estate agent's peril, or the real estate company's peril to
Yeah,
mislead, so.
I don't
To advertise a
disagree
house that
from a,
won't exist, you mean?
John,
but,
indulge my
I just
time?
don't, okay. all right. I should have just shut
So
up.
I imagine, since you had said you would be resubmitting a new plan, I move that we accept the applicant's request for an adjournment to our next meeting. Does that give you enough time, Jose?
Yes, absolutely. Perfect.
Okay,
Great.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Thanks a
Okay,
lot.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
John,
Have a great
we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Every house is superlative.
Or very unique.
Can't be more or less unique.
That's a particularly irritating one for me.
When everything thinks you, it's common.
All right.
Oh, there's a little mini moke. Yeah,
It's electric.
it's like an oversized golf cart kind of thing. It's like,
54 Leo's Lane,
yeah,
Yeah.
Larson.
It's an electric car.
tool around town car.
I want one.
Okay,
That can happen for you. Watermill.
so,
Oh, yeah.
the next application, Eric Larson, 54 Leo's Lane, two-story, single-family dwelling and detached garage. We had seen this before, so
Yes, we have.
come on down, come on down.
I think we're just done materials.
My name is Lee Skolnick. I'm the architect
Back?
for the client. I'm back to respond to your opinion that the windows, which we all know were not going to be black, what we had proposed was charcoal gray or graphite gray, and I think members of the board thought that it was still too contrasty. And so we went back and selected a new color.
Yeah. This is the one that was on the paperwork, right?
In
Be
the
careful of the
most recent,
Yeah.
yeah, the original was.
That's the original, that's the submitted one.
And then
Yeah.
this is our standing seam roof.
Oh, yep.
Looks good.
Looks good.
All right, so for the record, Lee, can you tell us the manufacturer name and,
Yeah,
specify that so it's on the plan?
yeah, these are low-end windows,
Okay.
which are, have become sort of the favorite. It used to be Marvin, everybody would be Marvin. But low-end seems to be a better product at a good price. So this is stone gray.
It's called stone gray.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we
And
changed it in the renderings as well, but it's really hard to see.
And does it
Oh,
have
that's
a SKU number?
Not on the board.
Okay. All right, is that marked on the plan that you submitted to the building department?
Yeah, it's here.
Is revised.
Yes, it's right
Okay.
there.
It's in the July
And
7th
it says,
document, yeah.
does it say stone gray? Oh,
Right there.
there it is.
It's on here.
Duh.
Does
Yep.
in the corner.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Never mind. Okay, so were there any other questions from my fellow board
Just-
members?
Just, doesn't matter, but is the
Okay.
standing seam roof, is that a Galvalume product?
It's a, use double stick tape, let me see if it's on here. It's called slate gray, it's manufactured as ATAS,
Okay, but and the color is slate gray.
slate gray, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay, good. So, the chair will move that, unless it's public comments, the chair moves that we accept the application and approve the application of Eric Larson at 54 Leo's Lane for two-story, single-family dwelling and detached garage as submitted with the new sample being stone gray on the window trim, right?
Yes, and slate gray on the roof.
And slate gray on the roof. All right.
I had to take the client out to lunch and convince him that this was good.
I hope whatever you ate was good.
But it was worth it.
Second, do you need?
I do
Second.
need a second.
Second?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
So there's nobody left to oppose, so that's it. Lee?
Thank you, and
Thank
thank
you.
you, thank you, and thank you for bringing the samples in.
Sure. Thanks very much. We've got our health department approval, so we're on our way. Thank you.
Congratulations on that.
All right.
Okay, the next application, number 5, is, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
I need your copy.
All right, Thomas Mahoney at 22 Copperfield Lane for a two-story addition and dwelling.
And you're back.
Back.
Okay, while you're back, we still need you to reintroduce yourself.
Oh, yes, Arthur Fraser, I'm the architect for Tom and Emily Mahoney at 22 Cobblefield, the proposed alteration.
We renoticed this, right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Isn't this
we
the one?
definitely have jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Right.
That was,
Okay,
there was
so
a
that
plan
goes
submitted
into
that
the
changed
file.
drastically, so.
Do I have to stamp, do I have to stamp those?
Mahoney
No.
Residential.
Yeah. I don't think so.
Okay.
So also, the floor and the table is yours.
Okay. This is a photograph of the existing home. Not unlike other these clients have moved out of New York and they're moving to Southampton for their permanent residence. They're both still very active professionally. They have 2 adult daughters. And this house was built, I think, in the mid-90s. And I don't know if everyone's familiar with Cobblefield. It has this very tight 100 by 100 lot. And we actually apologized for all the adjournments we made last month or 2. So we went through all these schemes, and eventually we came with the best idea was to just, in effect, if you could magically cut off the roof, pick it up, and put in the second floor.
Now, also, just for clarification, is there not a building association, a community association that has to sign off?
Yeah, I have an email from the president of the Homeowners Association saying that he's good with the project architecturally,
Okay.
and they're just waiting for their,
Good. And has that been included in the file, Arthur?
no, can I
Okay.
get that in now?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and they're just waiting for what?
They're waiting for the, sort of the septic plans and the landscape plans. They require highly detailed landscape
Right.
drawings that would.
Okay. That'll stamp in.
So this says, hi Arthur, the board has reviewed the drawings and is fine from an architectural viewpoint.
Okay, you agree with it, Doctor?
But, I don't foresee any problems with the house design when the Mahoney's seek formal approval. So I guess they're also having trouble just rounding up the 5 members of that board. So,
Oh.
All right, go ahead, Arthur.
yeah. So the architecture is ostensibly the same as the photograph. The roof is the same, we're just in effect picking it up, putting on a second floor. And again, Cobblefield is such rigid standards, the siding will stay the same, except we'll change it to AZAC, that kind of thing. And have a cedar roof, the same white trim, 6/6 windows. So all the existing details will stay the same, soffit, fascia, columns. And I was about to say we don't have the official letter, but that's what we have today. Board, is
Any,
any questions?
Comments from the board?
So basically, you're keeping the same footprint of the house, you're just putting a second floor on it.
Yeah, exactly.
read it correctly,
We're adding
walk
a
around.
little bay window in the back.
Yeah.
Literally raising the roof.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
Yeah, there are a number of two-story houses in that development.
Yes, oh yeah, both houses next door are two-story. So the part that we're adding is that double bay because it's a double height living room. So we'll add in-
And if I'm correct in what I saw, the garage is staying exactly where it is, you're
Exactly
just
the same.
reciting it?
Yeah.
Okay.
No other comments from the board? Any public comment? Questions? Okay. We good? All right, in which case I will move that we accept the application of Thomas Mahoney of 22 Cobblefield Lane, second story addition to the dwelling as submitted. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? No. So, again, Arthur, thank you.
Thank you.
And back by popular
I'm
demand.
still not going home. I think I'm right back.
We get you again.
Really is good. Second, folks? Okay. All right, the next application, and do we have certificates of mailing and posting and mailing?
Yep.
And turn the temp down a couple more notches? Is this it? Yeah.
I think you have the control over it.
Oh, you got it, yeah. Why don't you set it for 68, and if it gets to that, great, and if
Yeah,
not,
leave it there, yeah.
that's what it said?
Yeah, it's at 60.
Yeah.
We got your back.
All right, thanks.
Electronic.
Okay, great. So, the next
Affidavits.
on the list is that of Zachary Pack at 111 Old Town Road for 1.5-story, what's the FD?
It's requested demolish and build a new home.
Okay. All right, so. Arthur, why don't you, again, introduce yourself and go ahead.
Look how the materials are listed here. Makes it so
Arthur
easy.
Fraser for the applicants, Zachary and Amy Pack at 111 Old Town Road, Southampton. I don't know what the, I guess the front elevation is probably the most prominent start. So the current owners are a young family with 3 fairly young children. And the current home, which I've put down photographs, is I don't really know how to describe it, sort of a mansard roof that was
Yeah.
done by Tim
Board
Lynch, I
members and
think,
I
back
have
in the early 80s. And so they would like to tear that down and rebuild a shingle-style, more traditional Southampton home. The lot is sort of heavily restricted by the pyramid law, so, we're coming to have to step back some gables and put on a dormer on the north facade, which you sort of barely see. So I tried to keep the gable theme going, so has the gables in effect to accommodate the pyramids. And the sloping roofs also help the fact it's up on a hill. I don't know if you drove by it or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that'll mitigate the
There's a
sort of
steep ascent to
vertical.
that house.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where all these sort of gables come from. And then to keep the shingle style theme. We, added porches and columns, and these are the step back gables, and that's the other facade in the back. Finishes again are, natural cedar, white trim columns, railings. And the other one is a small pool house in the back. There is an existing pool house / garage back there. So this would just replace it with a much more modest, it's only 240 square foot pool house with the same sort of details.
Not French.
Right, without the mansard. So that's it again. Do you have any questions?
Board members?
I'm sure it's on here, but the siding of the house is yellow cedar, but the roof is red cedar? Is that correct?
No, I don't think, no, just
Is it-
normal.
or is it all yellow
Maybe
cedar?
It's a misprint. Okay, down there, just
Okay.
red cedar, both red cedar.
So let's see, where's this on the roof? Let's see.
This is Cedar Perfection.
That's
Is
more
it on-
perfection.
Would this be on A4? Roof type says,
Oh,
It
maybe.
says cedar perfection shingles, it just says to state the color. That's what it says.
oh, okay.
It's fine, I just.
Yeah, okay, so all natural
Yeah.
shade, cedar. Okay, any other comments from the board, questions? No? Any
I think
public
it's
comments,
charming,
questions?
actually.
Oh, yes, and
Yeah,
there
yeah,
was a
public.
letter in the file, which,
Oh,
if you can put that out, I see, Derek, you had printed that out and put it in the file?
I have it,
Oh, you have it?
yeah, want to pass it
Okay.
over?
Great, thanks. Let me do this. I will read it if Joan
Your
Lynch is
public
not
comment.
here, but if Joan Lynch is here,
Joan Lynch is here.
then you may step forward, as well as anybody else from the public, okay? So if you can introduce yourself
My name is Joan Lynch,
and your
I
address,
live-
Joan?
129 Old Town, right next, south of this house.
Great.
My only concern is the big tree,
Big tree,
the big tree.
okay.
It's a voluntary maple, and
I'm sorry, can you just put this so she can catch it with the
Oh,
camera?
sure,
for us,
sure.
please? Thank you.
my main concern is this
Yeah, do
maple
this.
tree. I've
Put it-
removed,
Put it on the
in the
white.
past, I've removed like 4 of the maple trees, and they look so nice on the outside once you chop them, they're hollow. So I took 4 huge ones down because I was afraid they were gonna fall in my house. Now this
You may
one,
have some from the.
Wait,
um,
Yeah, yeah.
this, oh, I'm sorry, here we go again. So this picture's, I don't know if they do,
The cat, is that in a good spot for you? Okay,
is this good?
Mine away.
But you see the size of the tree, it's kind of like very close to my house. In recent storms, we've lost a lot of trees in the village. Even though it looks healthy, it might not be, and I'm so afraid that it's going to
Come over.
come over and each year it's growing more and more over my little shed. So I was wondering, I didn't realize that the house is going to be demolished.
Uh-huh.
So in the meantime, could this be demolished could this be taken down?
I mean, I guess I can speak for the Packs, but they're, a pleasant young couple and, anxious to be good neighbors. I don't think they'll have any trouble with that
So,
tree if it's a
well-
danger to you.
Well, landscaping is part of it. We generally, Joan and Arthur, like to preserve trees.
Right.
So I'm not going to put this board in the position of taking down a tree. On the other hand, given the dialogue between the two of you, and, I think that's something for neighbors to work out, because if the tree is in fact decayed, and I was looking over to John, because we both live on
Yes.
Halsey Street.
2 huge
And this past weekend, a huge tree fell down, which I thought was solid as can be until I
It's
looked at it.
very
And
true.
it was all
Totally
hollow.
rotten.
But this board cannot make a decision
No, I
that requires an
understand.
arborist to look at.
Yeah,
But I think when,
Okay.
and, the wind blows in 4 directions, and actually 360 degrees. with the
Right,
wind.
right.
So it could fall on Arthur's
It could
beautiful
fall
house.
on your house
Yeah,
too.
I'm-
Or it could
So,
I'm sure if
So
the
anyway-
tree's any issue, they'll be glad
Okay.
to
So
take it
that's
down.
a long way of,
That's-
one, thank you for coming, thank you for
Okay.
submitting your letter. And two, thank you, Arthur, for having an open ear.
Okay.
And then you two work that out. But in the meantime, in terms of the design, unless there are other public comments, I think we've got an approval
I think
here.
that's
So,
charming.
Okay,
I move,
thank you.
thank you, Joan.
All right, I appreciate it, thank you.
So I move that we accept the application of
Okay, no, I like the house.
Zachary Pack
Yep, sure.
at
Something with that
111
tree.
Old Town Road.
If it's any sort of
for
danger,
one and a
up,
half-story.
Or
make sure
have it
they do that.
Or has,
Yeah. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Trimmed
Nay?
back on my
Okay, I mean, I didn't say nay. I just-
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Joe, thank you, Arthur.
Thank you.
Okay.
You want my card?
Can you get to go home, or are you staying around for another one?
Thank you so much.
I'm starving.
At least you're not on Zoom at 11 o'clock at night.
All right. So, we now go to Paul and Abby
Thank
Newfowler, at 90 Howe Street for a two-story, single-family dwelling.
Good evening, Robert Fischetti, Tournament Fischetti, 320 Hampton Road, Southampton, for the applicant.
Robert, you got you? Okay.
Hi, Rob.
How you doing?
So we have affidavits, thank you. Rob, thank you, Alice. Okay,
Okay, so, as I said, I'm Robert Fischetti. I'm here on behalf of Paul and Abby Newthaler. I have Steve Cinquemani here from Jason Thomas Architect, in case we have any more technical questions. We're talking about 90 Howell Street, which is off of Pelham Street. On the east border is Guilfoyle, which is a paper road.
Hold up the camera, please.
Oh.
On the table.
yeah, if you can just put the, whatever you're gonna.
Oh, yeah, sure, sorry.
And then
have it
aim
facing.
them towards us, and then the camera can grab them. Thank you.
It's an 8,743 square foot lot, so it's rather small. It's in the R20 zone, not historic, as you know. It's presently improved by a single-family residence, originally constructed in 1986 with a certificate of occupancy. The current house is about 1,500 square feet. I have a photo of that as well. The current house is about 26 feet high. Before 1986, it was just vacant land on that spot, going all the way back. We propose to demolish the existing residence and to construct a new single-family, two-story traditional home, swimming pool, stone patios at grade, fencing and landscaping. The swimming pool is 20 feet off of Guilfoyle by virtue of a variance granted by the Zoning Board of Appeals in 2016. It's not built yet, but that was obtained in advance. All other improvements conform to the applicable zoning restrictions. Proposed floor area is 2,260 square feet. Maximum is 2,374. The proposed height is 27 feet 9 inches. Lot coverage is 1,346 with a maximum of 2,623. Jason Thomas Architect Office has submitted architect's plans, a site plan, a landscape plan, a color rendering, as you see here, window, door, and trim detail, and some photographs of the surrounding homes. You should have all of that in your packet.
So can you just summarize the materials
Yeah,
in terms of
That's the next
what
sheet.
they are,
Yeah, the roof.
and the color and whether they're painted, stained, and so on.
So the roof shingles, for all the main portions, are Timberline NS weathered wood. It's lead-coated copper for flashing and front entry roof. 1x6 clapboard siding painted white. 5/4 by 6 corner boards painted white. 5/4 by 4 traditional casings, sill, and crown painted white. Windows and doors will be Marvin Integrity with an aluminum exterior in white as shown. Decorative frieze board and crown will also be white. Soffits to be 1x4 T&G painted white. Overhangs to be 3-piece with 2 flat and 1 crown painted white. Exterior patios will be thermal bluestone, and the pool will be gunite. I have copies of the variance. I don't know if you want that for your file.
Is it in the file?
I didn't submit it myself, I'm not sure.
Since it's for the pool, I don't think we need it, because it's not in our purview.
So, board members, any questions?
I think it's almost all right from my point of view. I think the incongruous things to me are the transoms over the windows. That's another regrettable development in the last 10 years. Rather than ordering a window the right size, you do 2 windows and put them together. And that never happened before. So I don't like that for that reason. The side lights are too narrow, and I don't like the little flip you have on the, the roof. That's kind of Frenchified. I don't know, it doesn't look very country to me. Which is otherwise a country nice looking house.
I agree. Actually, I would do a carbon copy of those same comments.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, your second, the side, you said?
Oh, the side lights to the front door.
Oh, okay.
They're too narrow.
You've got, proportions are very awkward with the single door and the side lights. And I also totally agree with all of these transom divisions. And I'm also not wild about
The flip.
the flip.
Yeah, and I agree with the board members as well. And it's particularly true because, just to your point, Robert, it's a very small lot. This house is an improvement, surely, of what's there.
Yes.
It's a handsome house,
And
It's not a very big house either. It's
No,
small.
I understand.
No, the massing is great.
Massing is great.
Which is all the more reason that removing the transoms and simplifying the overhang will make it, I think, more appropriate with the lot.
When you say simplify the overhang, you mean?
Well, without the
Without the transom.
scallop.
Oh, okay.
Without the curve.
Oh,
So
and
that's
the-
straightened, transoms, and then Peter's comment about
The side lights.
the side lights opposite the door, on either side of the door. you
Yeah.
say?
Yeah.
They're fine, just they're too wide.
They're too wide.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got elements there when you put it together that sort of overpower what otherwise is a cute, simple house.
Very simple, very
And
nice.
I very much like the fact that you're using wood shingles for the roof. I think that's really a nice touch, so that's good. This rendering is great. I mean, that property is, I'm not criticizing the rendering, but it's just always interesting to see a rendering. I mean, you could probably spit from the house to this side lot, and the rendering makes it look like you can have a volleyball game. So, anyway, more personal comments. Anyway, I think you've heard the comments from the board. Any comments from the public? Okay. Robert, so inasmuch as you're going to be coming back with some corrections to the design, you're requesting an adjournment.
Yes, I just wanted to see.
Sure.
So just one meeting adjournment.
2 weeks.
Right. So just as a reminder, any revisions have to be submitted this Thursday before the meeting by noon. So this way the public has a chance to look at it as well as the board members. All right, so I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to our next meeting, which is August. Our
July
next meeting.
26th.
Oh, July.
Don't rush
July
summer.
26th, thank you, yeah, please.
Hasn't gotten warm yet.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you. No.
It's the flip of the copper roof.
It just doesn't,
Okay. Okay, so the next application is for Meadowmere Partners LLC at 66 Meadowmere Lane for exterior alterations to a previous approval. So, if you could State your name, your firm, and your address.
Sure.
So I can have that, thank you.
My name is Ilya Migorodsky.
I'm sorry?
Ilya Migorodsky
Oh, okay.
from George's Migorodsky. And I have my affidavits.
And your firm and address?
Yep, George's Migorodsky, it's 233 East 72nd Street, New York, New York. So last time we met was December 2019 for all the excitement.
Yeah.
And our project was
Thank you, Alice.
approved without objections that evening, and we're in the process of filing for our permit, and we had a couple small design changes since 2019, and I'm here to review them today and clarify
Okay.
any answers.
Thank you.
I'll go in order here. I'm
You
gonna
okay,
start.
Kat?
Oh,
Yeah, you have to face us so the camera
sorry,
is
yep,
up for the
that would
public.
make sense.
Thank
Yep.
you.
No problem. Great. So we're going to start off with the entrance elevation. The main change on this entrance elevation, two items. The windows flanking the entrance door used to have a brick jolly in front of both windows of the screen, just a decorative element.
Do you,
Here and
do you
here.
have the,
Yep, I have
the original
reflected-
rendering? Because if you
Yep.
could put the original and the proposed,
Not a problem.
I think
Yep.
for the public,
That
it
would
makes
make
more
sense,
sense.
Kat, can you pick both of those up? Why don't you put them a little closer together?
No problem. Yep.
Okay.
So original, proposed. Brick jollies, windows without the jollies. The second big move here is, as you can see to the left and right of the entrance, we had a covered trellis outside. We removed that. So those two elements are the main elements on this front facade that have been tweaked since last December 2019.
What about the roof? The roof looks different.
The perspectives are slightly off.
Oh, it's the same?
Yeah, it's a clear story still here. You can
Okay.
see the exterior elevation, it's just the eye level slightly off.
Okay.
But the roof is still the roof, same exact pitch. You'll see it from both elevations. This is the gable behind. This is our clear story.
So we're taking it point by point.
Should I keep going, or?
Yeah, no, keep going, because
yeah,
there's
keep
other
going.
changes.
Yep.
It's in the rear.
Yeah. This is the north elevation. This is the north elevation. The difference here, there's no perspectives, but the trellis just gone from this area. What's that? Regarding all the elevations, the big move to the house is we're going from natural Alaskan cedar shingles that we're going to silver out to painted white. That's
I'm
throughout.
sorry, again.
Painted white shingles in lieu of natural cedar shingles to silver out. So the whole house is being painted white,
And before-
shingle-wise.
And before it was natural?
Natural, correct, correct. We're gonna go to the south elevation. Let me put this the way this was before.
Same thing.
Yeah. This was our original rendering of the south elevation. This is the revised rendering of the south elevation.
Pat, can you,
A little closer, or,
Actually, if you stack them one on top of each, you can probably get it better.
okay, is that better?
And then she,
can you come
Yeah.
in a little bit? Thanks.
there you go.
And again, which is old and which is new?
That's new.
This is old, this is new. So the massing of the house as a whole hasn't changed, the square footage hasn't changed. On the south elevation, what we're doing is we're eliminating a small bay window that was off the kitchen with a copper roof. And now the kitchen elevation matches the library elevation, where it's just a pass-through counter with flanking doors. So now it's a symmetrical elevation, so both sides match. On the south elevation, the second move here is we're proposing to put a spiral staircase in, a glass handrail spiral staircase from the master suite up to an existing or previously approved flat roof that was between the master suite and the double-story living room.
So you're
And that's-
saying that will be accessible to people, is what you're
That would be
proposing?
accessible to the master suite, correct, correct. The railing height is below the allowed elevation, obviously, and it's on an existing or a previously approved flat roof. And once again, the elevation is below the approved elevation or at the approved elevation.
You've also dropped both of the pergolas down, if I'm reading this correctly.
Correct, so the pergola both on the north elevation, on the the east elevation, the pergola that's facing, and the pergola's still there, I'm sorry, you're talking about the pool pavilions?
Well, on the original drawing you had.
Yes, they're dropped down 4
They
feet, the
look
whole
like
pool
they-
went down 4 feet.
It looked
Correct,
like you
so-
added more stairs and dropped them down.
Correct, landscape steps and drop down, correct. Kind of a hardscape, softscape move. So really, it's the color of the house, the spiral staircase, the jolly brick, the elimination of the trellis roof flanking the entrance. Those are the real major moves. The massing of the house hasn't changed outside of that. Layout hasn't changed, footprint hasn't changed.
In the original drawing, there was not a roof deck.
Correct.
Because it looks like there's a roof observation deck.
Correct, that's the flat roof that was previously reviewed, just not as an observation deck. It was just a flat roof between two gables.
Right, and now it's an occupiable deck.
Correct. Correct.
All right,
And that occupiable deck is off the master suite. It's not off the living room. It's not off a major party room. It's off the master suite. And it's a modest scale, just intended for the homeowners to
okay.
enjoy sunset. Yeah.
That's it, Ilya?
That is it.
Great. Board members, comments?
I was here when we approved it in December, and I must admit that I prefer the brick screen from a design standpoint. You've taken something that was, in my estimation, elegant, and you just made it windows. I think it was far more interesting with the brick than what's proposed just with the single window. I also,
Looking at the front?
The east elevation.
the east elevation, which is
Front
actually
door.
the front door.
Right.
I also,
So, I'm sorry, just, Kat, if you can just zoom in on that, because I just want to better understand. And can you zoom in a bit, or that's the best you can do? Okay.
I also would prefer the natural shingles to white, but that I may be the only person thinking that. In the setting, I know it's quite a large tract of land, but I think that it would be more less bold-faced, for want of a better expression, if it were naturals.
There is an existing house on the south property.
Right.
Which is what,
Yes, is
a
that,
few adjacent properties as well.
is the existing one going to be torn down, or?
No, no.
That will
It's going to
stay.
stay in the family, and it's going to remain white. So part of it was just make it work with the site, and also didn't seem foreign to the neighborhood as well.
I know it's already been approved, but what color are the windows, just out for my own?
The windows are like dark gray, steel windows. Yeah,
And just,
and that hasn't changed.
can you just review one more time? Because in the original rendering, the question that we had in the beginning, so this row of lights up here, this actually remains the same.
The clear story is still here.
It's a perspective difference.
It's just,
drawings,
yeah,
correct?
I mean, unfortunately, just the eye level changed a little, but you could see on the elevations, the clear story is still, it's still there.
The only objection I have is the addition of a third story overlook.
That's the clear story.
I agree. I prefer, I mean, look, it's nice looking, but I prefer it with the brick screen. I think that's just kind of, I don't know, chic, I don't know, stylish, interesting.
The second one's banal.
I agree, I mean, they're both viable designs, it's just the
Yeah,
preference of.
I think it's much more like stylish, or, I mean, it's a stylish house, you know, I just think it reinforces that.
And it's your entrance.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with the deck because it's an enormous piece of property.
And it won't benefit parties or anything.
It's a very modest scale.
Yeah,
set.
it's a
Really-
huge, it's like acres here, so.
And the middle lot and the end lot are both.
Can you just put the site plan up again one more time for me?
Sure.
Let's I just want to reemphasize to people watching the size of the lot. Because if you're,
This is
yeah,
the lot in question, this is the central lot, once
Yeah.
again, same owner, and this is the existing house.
Okay.
So-
And that terrace we're talking about is right here.
right.
And it only has access looking to the open?
The view corridor is south, I mean,
Yeah.
you could definitely look north,
'Cause it's
but the
roof
view
line
corridor is
block.
south.
Because its roof
The
line
decks-
is blocked to the north.
So the roof line blocks the north, the view in the other direction?
The view, this one is
Ground is dead.
100%
This roof-
blocked, this
and
one's
this-
partially blocked.
Got it, okay.
All right. I'm going to open up to public comment. There was there were letters submitted, one from an individual. Derek, do you have that printed out in the file? And then also from a group that spoke about this house and another application, and we could abridge some of the discussion there, but why don't I do this before we read those letters into the file? Thank you. So let me open it up for public comment, and those folks can speak, and then the board and the applicant can comment. Okay, so, you're welcome to take a seat while they're, sit in the audience. So this way they're less intimidated by your presence. Okay, so, anybody in the public want to comment? Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, if you submitted a letter, we'll read it, but, you know,
Hi.
this is a public hearing, so we encourage people to speak.
Thank you, and thank you for listening to us. So,
First, introduce yourself.
oh, sorry. My name is Maureen Sherry.
Okay.
There are a group of us from our neighborhood who are here, who have most, really during COVID have gotten together and talked about our neighborhood. So I first want to just address that, before talking about this application. And from that, I mean, we sort of feel under attack by these very super high homes. And I can lay in my bed and watch the person now on Meadow Lane on Cooper's Beach making coffee. I'm not kidding you. It's so lit up. It's all glass. This particular home will be, behind us. I hate being in this position. I really like my neighbors. I really like the applicant. I'm in a very awkward position here, as are the rest of our group. So, we are the home directly at the corner of Cooper's Neck and Meadow. They are our next door neighbors. They have great style, as somebody pointed out here, great taste. It's a big piece of property. We were not aware of this application because, like most of us here, nobody's, I guess, really paying attention and isn't aware of quite how this system works, regarding notice. That said, so I guess what we're here tonight to talk about, though, are the changes to an already accepted application. To that, I would just say that, having a glass roof deck now looking, directly at us, so I'll have one person on one side, I have just across the pond an extremely large home that looks at us, and now on the other, which is no fault of theirs, right? One does it, and everyone, through this FEMA relief, is able to do this now. So I feel awkward doing it, but I really would prefer to not have a glass viewing deck looking directly at our second level porches, which are my children's bedrooms. So.
All right, thank you, Maureen. And that summarizes what you had sent a letter, so.
Yes.
Do I?
I did have one question. I'm still unclear at what height this is from the ground up.
Well,
the viewing deck.
A couple of things. Well, that's the
that's a good
viewing
question.
deck, that's a
Yeah.
good
The
question, that's a
architect could
legitimate
answer that.
question.
Yes.
That number's not in my head, I have to look at the drawing.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, please. Yeah, no, that's a legitimate question. What we can't really change or discuss is the height. I know there's a larger issue in terms of the application of FEMA. That we have to accept the rules and conditions as they exist. And, this was an issue raised a few years ago with 40 Meadow Lane. It was bounced around back and forth. I think it's still an issue worthy to be addressed with the trustees.
Right.
And so, you know, let's do that in that venue. The house, though, currently that's being proposed here exists at all with it, it complies with all regulations. At the same time, in as much as the deck, the accessible deck, is a new addition, the issue of how high it is, how the line of sight to other properties are all things that we apply to whether it be a third of an acre or 3+ acres, and we take that into consideration. So, Ilya, to the question.
37 feet above grade.
37 feet
Thank
above
you.
grade. Okay, great.
So is that plus, from the
From
absolute
natural
ground?
grade, from natural grade, from 6 feet, which is what the elevation of the house.
So is that 37 plus 6? Or
No,
is that
37 from the 6. It's
From
a
the
plus.
6?
It's not the top of the gable.
So essentially, 4 traditional stories based on the ceiling heights in the house itself, right? So it's amplified because of the,
Right, the house is elevated 13 feet from grade because of FEMA.
Right.
Or it's 6 and then it's at 35.
Okay,
Not quite, so from.
okay, well,
Oh, we have to discuss up here.
Okay, yo,
We need every
You would have to
discussion on the
come
You're
record.
welcome
Yeah.
to speak, but let's have, yes, so,
No,
you're welcome to speak.
for sure.
You can't, just,
Level, how about that?
you have to be on the microphone,
Yeah,
because it's a public meeting.
The public needs to hear
Yeah,
it.
so you can, welcome to speak, step up, tell us who you are, where you live, and then you can address the board, and then the board will in turn address the applicant.
I'm Kathy Ferguson. I live at 370 Meadow Lane, which would mean I am across the pond looking at your house, which is so serene. It's a lovely vista. So that's why I'm concerned how high it is, and we don't really know, so that's why I was questioning.
Were you
Okay.
saying how high the house is or how high
How
the deck
high
is?
the top of the roof, from the ground?
Well, that's a different question.
That's a
So-
different
Are they
question.
discussing the house tonight?
I just want to
No,
know.
no,
Personal
okay.
I got it.
edification.
Shall
I got it. I just don't have these numbers in my head, so let me
No,
just
no,
stand
it's
up.
okay.
I should, but I don't.
No.
I have a lot of numbers, just not in particular. Okay, so the house is 46 feet 2 inches. The maximum is 48. So we're approximately 2 feet below what's called the maximum. So 46 feet from grade.
And is that 40, I know this is a dumb
From
question.
grade,
Is that,
from the existing grass up on the property.
and is that
That's the
48
top of
feet,
it.
it's
Go.
probably a dumb question.
No problem.
Is that
Just-
48 feet roof height or chimney height?
No, that's roof.
Okay, so the chimney's another 2 feet above that.
Correct.
Ish.
Correct.
Okay.
We call out the, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So, I already forgot what I said a second ago.
So, no doubt, it's a tall house.
But just,
It's
just
also
one more thing,
within
I'm sorry.
compliance.
So 25% of the house is at that height.
Right.
Everything else is significantly lower.
Lower.
So we worked really close with the client to be conscious about, obviously, it's a big house, and nobody's saying that, but the house could be bigger in theory, given the scale of the property.
Okay.
So the house was designed for a program, but also kept in mind to minimize the maximum roof area to a bare minimum of the house, and also not to actually maximize it, stay a couple of feet under, and it's literally 25% of the footprint is at that height. Everything else is significantly below, 7 feet or more. Something to keep in mind.
If I may, there's sort of two issues here, because we understand what your issues are. Those are actually village issues that have to do with village code, not just this particular house. Or height.
Heights,
Your
the
height
building
issue.
height, yeah.
The height issue.
Until the code
that's a
changes.
village issue.
But the style of the, sorry.
Yeah, I'm saying, I don't know that we necessarily disagree that it needs to be looked at by the village again. Because of the new FEMA laws, it has changed. And that, as a global issue, that's a village issue. And it probably deserves discussion, but that's not this room tonight, but it probably does deserve discussion.
What is within the purview of this board, which we can investigate further, is the issue of visibility and I should say, the issue of privacy, which is something we deal with.
Right, the sight
Now,
lines.
I would guess that that's probably not a major issue, given the size of the property, but we have in the past, and I'll ask my board members if you think we should, under the circumstances, ask the applicant to provide a line of sight from a 6-foot person at that
Okay, keep in mind that most of the balcony discussions we've had, or terrace discussions, are off the second floor. This is different because it's essentially on the roof of the
On
house.
the third floor.
And we
And
have.
I think it sets a precedent that we may want to avoid for future
Well,
discussions, too.
And in the past, there have been issues about widows' walks, which have, in some cases, been
Putting greens.
denied. So,
I think I agree with John
the
now.
issue is,
The north side of the property is definitely heavily planted, have more trees, large oak, and landscape plan, you can see this in the existing.
When you're 40 feet off of the ground, though, that...
Yeah, valid, you know, but this will be heavily vegetated. Anyway. that's,
well, it was originally approved without roof access.
Yeah.
The board, I don't think is going to approve it this evening with roof access. So I think you have to, you're welcome to come back to us and provide us with schematics of line sight and privacy issues and screening, with heights of the screening. In some cases, we've asked the applicant to put up shrouds to demonstrate privacy issues.
Okay.
That would be a darn big shroud if you had to go up 50 feet. Do what you wish, but this board originally approved it without a roof access.
Sure.
And if that's, extremely important for your client, then come back to us. If not, I think we could probably get your approval this evening.
Yeah, that's the only...
Just to clarify, I could remove the brick jolly, correct? Because that seems to be kind of a, I mean, I know you had mentioned it, I understand your point, I thought it was interesting as well, but we like it the way it is now. And it is kind of completely hedged off, and it's completely private.
No, it's private already.
It's private.
The only sticking
Just an
point for me is the...
Yeah,
the
no,
roof.
it was beautiful, I agree, yeah.
An opportunity lost.
There'll always be another
It
one.
happens.
The interiors will be spectacular. Okay, so we're good on everything. I'll come back with some photos of the proposed terrace view corridors.
Yeah, what we would need is a schematic with a 6-foot figure.
Understood.
Somebody almost a foot taller than me, I'm sorry. But anyway, somebody taller than me, line of
I'm 6
sight.
feet. I'm 6 feet, I'll
Okay.
You're
5'11",
qualified.
3/4, but
Yeah.
I'll wear tall shoes.
I have height envy. But in any event.
That's a good point, though, because at eye view, it actually is like 45 feet off the ground.
Yeah, 38, yeah.
Well, more or less.
Yeah, and so if you can
I
do
just-
that, and then show Ilya the screening,
Understood.
if that, and then do it 360 in fact, so, because the point is, some of this is blocked just by the
Okay.
nature of the house.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the north and west.
Right.
The east and south are not,
blocked by the
yeah,
roof
not an
line.
issue, yeah. So I understand your point, and we'll do that exercise.
Okay.
Yeah.
great.
That'd be great, thank
All
you.
right, just
Thank
want to
you.
make sure all public comments were made. Okay,
I'm Bernard Carl. I
Okay.
own property at 216 Cooper's Neck, right across the street.
uh-huh,
And I have a couple specific questions and one general process question or comment.
yeah,
There's been a lot of discussion about the mass and volume of the house is appropriate to a very large yard, which I think is probably good if it stays a very large yard. But I think what we just heard is there are 3 lots. So I want to make sure that in considering the mass of the house, the lot it's going to be on is what you consider rather than the 3 lots or the 2 lots that are now empty. So
Could I just speak that, the lot coverage right now, we're about between $6,000 and $7,000 under the
Yeah.
allowed lot coverage,
Okay.
lot as is. not including
yeah,
the lot
you need to
itself.
come up.
Meaning, we're about 30% under on the allowed lot coverage by code. So we're not maximizing the lot by any means at this point.
what is the size of the lot this house is on?
It's 3.3 acres approximately.
So I don't know what
Well, I mean, procedurally, where we are right now, this house is approved.
Yeah,
So-
already
the ship has sailed.
So I'm just making a point that we're,
But
it's
the
a
house
big
could have
house,
been
but
bigger.
by no
This
means
house
is it
could have been bigger.
maximizing the allowable square footage, height or square footage, lot coverage in general, yeah, particularly.
So the zoning rules are the zoning rules. And properties cannot be broken up or gerrymandered in such a way that you create a non-conforming use by gerrymandering or otherwise bastardizing the properties. So, but that's not our our purview. So, nor can we even grant anything that has us stepping on the zoning codes. That's just beyond our jurisdiction.
Although massing is certainly within your jurisdiction.
Well, massing, right. But right now, this house has already been approved with the massing and scale as presented.
I'm going to address that in a moment, but the other issue I have, which is an experience in Cooper's Neck Pond, is this is on, fronts on wetlands. And there's a very high aquifer level on that Cooper's Neck Pond. The question is whether any studies have been done as to the effect of this construction on the aquifer level or on potential flooding of the pond that it sits on,
Right.
whether that was considered.
So that also is beyond the jurisdiction of this board. Any property any development has to meet all the zoning code requirements, all the health code requirements. If it's in wetlands, it goes before, I don't know, it's a secret or whatever the heck it is. So it's not us. We're not ignoring that those aren't issues, but
No,
it's
all
just
good
not
points,
within our
it's just the
purview.
wrong board to
Yeah,
address
right.
it to, yeah.
The last issue is, and I know this is late, but it is simply a comment as a neighbor, that I only became aware of this 48 hours ago from my son-in-law property. The objective of the board is to get meaningful community input. A hearing Christmas week, a year and a half ago, and then it goes basically dark for a year and a half, doesn't seem consistent with the objective of getting meaningful community input today on what this house looks like. So if there is going to be another hearing on changes, I would suggest that it might be better to renotice the neighbors and make sure that everyone does have an opportunity to have an input on this process.
Right.
Again, Christmas week is not the busiest, a lot of people are not hanging around their mailbox. And I certainly got no notice of this hearing.
Right.
So I think that, and candidly, I have no record of getting
This was noticed.
the 7:20 hearing. So I think renoticing this might be very useful.
Okay.
Alan?
So there are the code, and I recommend that you read the code, which is section 116, which I'm happy to read to you. It specifies the notices and notifications, including posting on the property, which I did inspect, and there are the appropriate postings, which have to be up 10 days before. Secondly, there has to be a public notice in the papers, I think 2 weeks, at least 10 days, but it's 2 weeks before. So beyond that, that's the requirement for the village.
Mailings within 200 feet.
And mailings within 200 feet. So to the extent that it's not a convenient time, or people are elsewhere, or they choose to ignore it, or circumstances are what they are, we comply with all the notifications, which is very standard within the state and with the South Fork. So I'm not chiding you for missing it. On the other hand, we've done what this board is supposed to do. So I thank you very much.
I think I was in 200 feet, I never saw a notice, but.
I can't help that. The applicant has to submit an affidavit, if you saw the beginning of this, an affidavit attesting to the fact, swearing, signed by a notary, that they did in fact post and mail. Now, I will share with you a personal opinion, but it doesn't affect this notification, that maybe in the future, certified mail or return receipt requested. Some communities may do that, but again, we'll take that up with the village trustees.
I'm happy to check the list if someone wants to pass me the file.
Because they put a list of people that were.
Now, this is a darn big property, so 200 feet,
It's
you
not
know.
200 feet from the boundary.
From the boundary,
It's
yeah.
on the sidelines, I'm sorry, so yeah.
Yeah, 200 feet from the house, you wouldn't have to notify anyone.
From the,
We notified the gardener.
It wouldn't be the first time I've checked the list, so I certainly don't mind doing it.
thank you, Alice.
Thank you.
But we do want people to be noticed, I'm not. And we do like company on Monday nights.
And
This is
legitimate
so much
issues,
better than
if,
Well, you have to go after your day up.
Yeah.
if these issues want to be, or would be addressed, they should be directed to the trustees, correct?
Well, in terms of the procedure, so Alice is just
Well, she's-
sharing
yeah.
with us the list of names that were contacted.
tell me your address again?
216 Cooper's Neck. Bernard
Cooper's
Clark.
Neck. And you own it personally?
Yes. 20 years.
Yep, you're on here.
What address?
Do you want me to say it?
Sure.
Okay. 2340 Wyoming Avenue, Washington, D.C.
What address?
So
That's your official
yeah.
address, so that's where
The
it's at.
village has, yeah.
I would recommend you that you might want to discuss with your board the notion of certified or other mail, because postal service isn't perfect.
But it would still have gone to Washington.
It would have gone to
so-
Washington then.
So,
No, you don't know.
all right. So, anyway, thanks so much for the comments. Ilya, we accept your request, well, I'm going to move that we accept your request, unless there's any other public comment. Okay. So I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to our next meeting. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Mark, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Ilya. Appreciate it.
Last but not least, our favorite topic,
And gates. This is a repeat. Is this a repeat from last year?
oh yeah, it is.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much, everybody. Okay, so, driveway gates.
This is the,
That of
Yeah,
the
it's
gallows
like
requesting
if your
adjournment to the
occupant had a letter or something,
26th.
and that's
I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to the 26th on the Gallo property. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. So, oh my goodness,
we have gate.
On here?
With no one here,
there's no one here. He did make the changes that
Well, we can't do anything
were
because he's not
requested.
here.
I guess we can't,
Yeah.
or can we?
No, you
I
can't.
mean, I don't have a problem with, if you don't have an issue with it, I don't have a problem approving it. I guess my only concern would be if there was something he wanted to add or put into the record by being here.
it's true, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't approve because the public would need to comment too, right?
on
The
anything.
public is not here.
They did make the changes though.
They did.
They even put the touchpad on the stanchion.
Yeah.
I think we better put it
I
over.
would say.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I think
What's
you're
that?
right.
Put it
You
over.
should put it over to the next meeting.
Okay.
He has 3-inch slats and
Okay.
4-inch spaces.
Better safe
It's
than
not
sorry.
quite, it's not quite what we said, actually. We,
Okay.
I think we wanted 4-inch spaces and 2-inch slats.
Okay.
Yep.
So let's do this. And
Oh.
Okay.
let's give the applicant the
All right.
opportunity to appear
Yeah.
and address whatever concerns we have.
You wanted to talk
So
about it.
then, I move, I guess, that we adjourn to the next meeting, the application of Neil Charaf, at 72 David White's Lane, the driveway gates in this month, if the applicant is not present. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great. So if there are no other public concerns or public matters, then I will move that we close tonight's meeting of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation, this July 12th, 2021. It is now 10 to 9. So do I have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great.